All right, we're back at IGN's E3 live show, streaming at you from e3.ign.com. We just took a look at some awesome Sony exclusive games, so let's see what the Xbox 360 has to offer. With us now is Epic Games and a chainsaw-filled game, which of course you know, Gears of War 3. Guys, let's see the blood.
Thanks so much, Fran. I am here with Rod Ferguson, and we're going to be checking out Gears of War 3. We're going to get a special look at the campaign mode. Now, you saw part of this demo at the Microsoft press conference, but that was only half of the demo. So Rod, can you kind of explain what we're going to be seeing here?
Oh, sure. Well, so we're going to show, the story takes place, we wanted in Gears 3, we wanted to be able to play both sides of the experience. We didn't want to just be Marcus and Dom the entire way. Even back in Gears 1, when you had the factory demo, you wanted to see both sides. So this, where you're going to be able to see both the Marcus and Dom side, you're going to see the Cole and Baird side. So this first part, though, when you kicks off, this starts off with a clip. We'll show you that basically where Cole and Baird come in. You get to get the sense of context. They're up on the bridge while Marcus and Dom are down, down on the ship shooting. And so this is a Lambent Leviathan attacking the ship. So the Lambent infection has taken over the planet, and so they're basically having to deal with that. And the monster's been infected, and so now it's this huge creature that's attacking them, and it's basically taken over the planet. Where Gears of War 1 was about a battle, Gears of War 2 was about a war, Gears of War 3 is about survival. The planet's self-destructing because of this Lambent infection.
And so is this kind of like maybe a preview of the sense of what the scale is going to be like for the campaign in Gears of War 3?
Yeah, well, we wanted to make the scale, it's kind of funny, it's sort of contrasting. We wanted the scale to be much bigger from this is about the planet, not about a war, but at the same time it's a much more personal scale because they're not about a military. The government's collapsed, there's no more military, so it's about a band of brothers, this trust of friendship. And so it's a very personal story. They're doing stuff as friends, not as you've been ordered to take that hill kind of thing.
Okay, and I think a lot of people are wondering, will those questions that have kind of been brought up, especially in Gears of War 2,
right,
will those be all resolved at the end of Gears of War 3, or?
Well, I don't know about all. We're really focused on providing a conclusion to the story. This is the third in the trilogy, and we wanted people to feel satisfied that when they were done, they could put the controller down and say, okay, I got the story. But you don't want to reveal everything, because if you reveal everything, there's no mystery left, and then the IP doesn't have that mystique to it. So there's going to be lots of answers, but there'll be some things like, we won't get into an origin story or anything like that.
And when you talk about this is about survival, it's kind of all hands on deck. This is part of the reason why we now see female Gears into the mix.
Yeah, actually, and Anya is a great sort of representative for that transition from being from the office worker to now she's in the battlefield and taking up a gun. So what we're seeing here is one of the new things that we're showing at the show is our silverback mech, which is sort of this exoskeleton suit that you can now wield. And you bring that along, and you can not only use it as a force with the chain guns and rockets, you can also deploy it. And we'll see that shortly when he's fighting the Leviathan. He'll actually lock down, and then Marcus will take cover on his back.
That's awesome. And this kind of plays off of the idea that was a little bit introduced in Gears of War 2, which is the idea of sort of movable cover.
Right.
But this is a little bit more maybe dynamic than what we saw in Gears 2.
Yeah, it's sort of its own little portable base. You can use it for offensive and defensive uses, And so that's what we should always try to find, another way to bring something interesting to cover. Even like using the mantle kick was a new way to use cover, right? That we introduced in multiplayer. And so we're always trying to find another layer, another complexity, a little bit of depth to the cover system. So those little crab things, we call those polyps because they're sort of this parasite, this lambent parasite. And those guys are the lambent drones. And those are the locusts that have infected so much with emulsion that it's inside of them. And so when they get shot, they actually burst from energy. And so that's why you don't see them just falling over. And the bigger the lambent creature, like as we've seen in the end of Gears 2, the more explosive they are. So you have to be careful later on in the game when you're fighting actually bigger lambent army guys.
And so when did the decision get made that you were going to actually show kind of and be able to play both sides of a scene?
Well, it was pretty early, but it was trying to find a way to do it because we never wanted this idea that when you let Marcus off on his own, like, okay, we're switching to Cole's perspective, then Marcus would accomplish something without you. It would feel weird. So we had to look at the story and then craft the story in a certain way where we could have Marcus do something and something happened to him where we can actually then rewind time and then play as another character. And so that's what ends up happening here is that at the end of the demo, you'll actually end up where they're getting, they're blowing up the Leviathan now to try to stop it from attacking the ship, which is going to have its own repercussions. But that'll end up having them guys jump off the ship. And what end up happening then is you'll switch over to Cole and Baird and you'll rewind about an hour, and then you'll start playing for them while they're searching for resources. And then at the culmination of their trip, you'll get to this sort of exact same moment where they'll see the perspective from the top of the bridge.
And is this going to be something that is kind of continual throughout the game, so almost every level is going to have that experience, or is it once in a while?
Yeah, we wanted to still have an anchor for the storytelling. We still wanted to have that, a perspective to the storytelling. So it was kind of cool to play as Cole, as you can see here, and being able to be him and go to it, because going back to Hanover is his hometown, so not only are you getting to play as him, but you're also getting to have a story moment with him. You're going back to his old stadium where he played thrash ball, and you get to experience like that you can never go home kind of feeling. And So it made it more important from being him when he's going through that. There's our Retro Lancer with the Retro Lancer execution.
Which people have seen from the Gears of War beta.
And so here's one of the new weapons, the Vulcan that we're introducing at the show, is this co-op chain gun where you pick up the gun and your teammate will pick up the ammo crate, and then you can just unleash hell because it's just your bullets are being fed in all the time. You never run out of a clip, and you just tear things up. Now they have one shot, so those lasers coming in, so he's got to book it to the side to get out of the way, and you can see he'll go up and then do close the call. Get in our new retro turret. So these are Savage Locusts. They're not under the Queen's control. It's that whole idea of being stranded, and so they've taken rifles and put them in a rack. It's so low tech, and so you use that to tear up the battlefield as well.
I think one of the things that was interesting that you said earlier was this idea that you guys want to kind of bring it closer home with the story. And I think that was obviously one of the knocks on the first Gears of War, that the story and the persona of the characters weren't really fleshed out, and that was something you worked on for 2.
Right.
What kind of what are things are you doing for 3 that are kind of bring that more fully formed, I guess, story for a character?
Well, I mean, it's just focusing on the storytelling and focusing on the writing. We brought Karen Travis, she writes our novels, and she's a great storyteller. So it's much deeper from a story perspective, much richer from a story perspective, and just making sure everybody has that sort of arc in their story, that Sam gets to go home to Anvil Gate, and Marcus goes through his journey through this actual whole thing. We get some closure with Dom and stuff, and so there's a lot of things where Dom goes back to visit a place that is important to him in the story. So everybody has their moment, if you will, and so it's just finding a way for that interaction with the characters.
Awesome. Cool. Well, what else can you what else can people expect when they get their hands on the Gears of War campaign?
Well, I mean, it's the biggest campaign we've ever done. It's the biggest, most polished, 4-player campaign. One of the great things we haven't really shown yet, but the campaign is the biggest thing. It takes the most time for us to develop, and so what we wanted to create is this arcade mode on top of it, so you can go back and experience that content, but from a competitive perspective, where you can go and play for score with your friends. And so not only can you play this from the story perspective, now that, okay, we just saw that where they just blew up the divide, let's go back and play and see if we can get a better score between the two of us, that kind of thing. And so you can actually consume the campaign in an arcade way.
And I guess the most important question of all, when will people actually get to play Gears of War 3?
It's September 20th worldwide, and it's an Xbox 360 exclusive.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Rod.
You're welcome.
So you've been getting a personal look at Gears of War 3 campaign mode. You got to finally see what it's going to be like when you play one side and then flip over and play the second section of the same level. Get to see the full story unfold before you. Gears of War 3 does come out September 20th, and we're kicking on over to Fran.
Awesome, guys. Nice to see the cogs back in action. Coming next, we're going to switch gears from chainsaws to sports cars. Honestly, if it's loud, we want it on this show. So rev up your engines for the new Forza.